name is Liz Partsch,
And I'm Paul Rowley.
and welcome to Farm and Dairy's virtual newsletter.
We'll be giving you a rundown of all the news this week. The news there was.
Yes, and I will kick us off with that news.
Great.
So this week, I wrote about the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection's Environmental Quality Board.
Well, that's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. And they delayed a vote on a petition to increase oil and gas well setbacks at the state level.
Okay.
Yeah, so the petition, introduced by environmental organizations, the Clean Air Council and the Environmental Integrity Project last fall, asked the agency to increase oil and gas setbacks from homes and businesses, which is currently at 500 feet, to 3,281 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and they got that number from health studies.
Cool.
So in addition to that, the petition pointed out, public health concerns related to people who live close to fracking, through these numerous studies that have been conducted. This, however, is not an isolated request. In the last few years, communities across Western Pennsylvania have been pushing for increased setbacks via local ordinances. In particular, residents who live close to these oil and gas wells, some of them citing noise that is beyond what the human body can take.
Oh, wow.
And, health concerns, particularly for their children.
Yeah.
So the vote was ultimately delayed by the board because of a barrage of last-minute letters sent by oil and gas industry advocates who say the bill would ban future production and development of Pennsylvania's natural resources.
Oh, okay.
Yes, which is, a huge, part of the state's economy.
Yeah.
So the petition is delayed for now, but it will be heard later on, I'm sure, this year.
Gotcha.
Once they review those letters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds interesting. We'll have to tune in with that later.
Yeah.
I guess we'll take you to my story here. I wrote about another big shakeup in U.S. agricultural policy. So the USDA's Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities program, it was a big one, nearly $3 billion devoted to combating climate change by promoting sustainable farming practices across the United States, is now dead, officially, RIP to her. According to U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, the ending of this program marks a new beginning of unprecedented prosperity for American agriculture.
I'm in. Let's hear.
I guess,
Let's hear
right?
about it.
Yeah. So the news, though, was really received hard from farmers who were receiving the grants from this program on their land and implementing the practices that were involved in it. Now they have to go back to the drawing board. The projects and practices, rather, often included like cover cropping and then measuring environmental benefits of all of that work, like for water quality and soil health. It also affected the organizations that were disseminating that money to those farmers and helping to get all of that work off of the ground. The sudden change has left agricultural groups, including like food hubs, nonprofits, and rural coalition groups, just kind of scrambling. They're confused and frustrated, and they're also facing financial uncertainty in a lot of ways. So we'll take PASA Sustainable Agriculture, which is based in Pennsylvania. I've reported on them quite a bit ever since the beginning of this year, culminating in the funding freeze. They had nearly 200 farmers that were enrolled in Climate Smart program and another 750 or so in the wings waiting to get started themselves. After their funding was frozen, soon after Trump took office, it impacted about $40 million in direct payments that was going to be technical assistance and other services that they were going to provide with that funding. Executive Director Hannah Smith Brubaker, she said that to get to this point, it's just been a total roller coaster. So the new initiative that is replacing the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities program is called Advancing Markets for Producers, or AMP. We actually don't know a lot of things about that program yet, but we do know that 65% of all the funding that is going to be available through it has to go directly to farmers. PASA, though, on the other hand, told me that it's kind of a logistical nightmare to actually get that done, because what they were doing before was providing basically of equal value or more in marketing support and technical services and that stuff, things that farmers asked for, in other words. Over at the Union of Concerned Scientists, I actually managed to talk to an early critic of the partnerships program. And she told me that while it started off flawed, it was really favoring corporations like Cargill and Walmart in the funding that they were receiving over much smaller operations. By the time the second round of funding in late 2022 got started, she said that the program really started to get its footing and really had the opportunity to make real innovative change, even just around alleviating snags in the supply chain. Now, unfortunately, because it's gone, we'll actually never really know the full impact of any of that work and what it was actually able to accomplish. Although the AMP program really aligns well with Trump era priorities, a lot of the farmers I talked to and the groups that I talked to, they said that it kind of comes at the expense of community trust and the grassroots work that they were doing to really get this stuff going. And all these farmers are sort of left now holding the bag, wondering what comes next. So
Yeah.
another, to be continued sort of story, I
Yeah.
think, here in the paper.
Well,
this
so
week.
it sounds like in a way it's good for farmers, but then also, they won't have those resources to
Right.
help them.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, this week in our second lawn and garden special section, I wrote about the enemy. Yes, the ultimate enemy here in our ecosystem in Ohio and Pennsylvania. And its name is the Callery pear tree.
I would not have guessed that.
Yes, also known as the Bradford pear tree.
Oh,
And you
okay.
may have seen it. It has lots of white blossoms this time of year. It
Okay.
sprung very early. But yeah, it repopulates very quickly. It's an invasive species from China. And yeah, it repopulates so quickly it takes over these landscapes, and it almost chokes out these our native tree species. Yeah, it makes them, unable to tolerate the shade, and they can't really compete for the same soil and
Oh,
water
right.
and other space that they need to grow.
Yeah.
In addition to that, the fruit is also not very good for wildlife. We have some people that'll be like, "Oh, whoa, don't cut down the tree. It has pollinators are using
Right.
it." But one of my sources actually put it this way: it's like candy. You can't
Oh.
always eat candy. It's not good for you, and that's how this fruit is on this tree.
Okay.
So. Yeah, but regardless, this continues to spread across the area because of wind and birds, spreading the seeds.
Right.
So there are ways, though, for landowners to get rid of their Callery pear trees.
Okay.
Lots of Ohio soil and water conservation districts are offering programs where if you cut down your invasive tree, like the Callery pear, you get a free native plant species.
Oh.
Pennsylvania is also doing a program where people can chop down up to 5 natives or invasive species,
Oh, yeah,
so
that's it.
Callery pear included.
Yeah.
And you can go to and get one free, or I think a few native species at 5 planned events across the state in May.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. So
All right. Well, that's really cool. Well, I'll take you to Lisbon, Ohio, where I was actually able to attend a legislative breakfast that was hosted by the Columbiana County Farm Bureau. We got to hear about different local leaders talk about agriculture priorities and also a bit about the state's biannual budget process, which was really interesting. So once everyone was done munching on their plates of eggs and their delicious bread pudding that was served at this breakfast, by the way,
Yum.
props to whoever made that. Those in attendance received a generous helping of state budget news by way of State Representative Monica Robb Blastel, who outlined her fellow Republican lawmakers' vision for Ohio's next biennial budget. So what they have in mind, if it was passed, it actually comes $4 billion, and that's billion with a B, $4 billion shorter than what Governor Mike DeWine has proposed for the state's budget. So Rob Blastel told the crowd in this breakfast that the House's plan is really a no-frills approach to state spending. So she cited the loss of federal funds as really the main driver of that, the reason why it's so cut back. But she was also quick to emphasize that core areas, things that really people care quite a lot about, like education, Medicaid, and also libraries, which has been in the news about budget cuts recently, those would still be able to see continued support. Other investments that she talked about included $800,000 committed for livestock events at the Ohio Expo Center and ongoing support for FFA programs, which like everyone loves, obviously. She also praised the H2 Ohio initiative, which was Governor DeWine's water quality program he started in 2019. And that's designed to help farmers reduce nutrient runoff from their farms and in the hopes that they would make those or reduce the harmful algal blooms that happen in Lake Erie. But what she didn't mention is that the Ohio House actually cut that program or has proposed to cut it by $122 million or so over 2 years.
wow, that's
so-
a lot.
Yeah, it is. So I asked her how she sort of, crosses that with the program's success that it's had. She told me that the General Assembly has invested about $725 million altogether into this program since its initiation, which is nothing to sneeze at for sure. And she also said that while the House budget does in fact reduce the Department of Agriculture in Ohio's budget for H2 Ohio, I think this is a quote. She said, "We hope to strike a balance between being fiscally responsible and continuing the important environmental work that H2 Ohio was created to do." So that was from her about that. Democrats in the House, though, in the Ohio House, are very much upset about this budget that they've put forward. House Minority Leader Allison Russo, she criticized the GOP proposal for this really scaled back budget for the state. She said that the cuts are reckless, and she said that they will potentially hurt everyday Ohioans from when it comes to public health, when it comes to safety, and also when it comes to clean water. So it's not lost on her, those cuts to H2 Ohio. To hear what else Rob Blastel had to say about agriculture stuff in the budget, check out the paper or the story in this week's paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we had another really interesting story in the paper this week. So it is about black bear numbers are increasing in the eastern part of Ohio.
I love bears.
Yes, but their favorite snack is beehives.
Oh, no.
Yes, and that's according to Barbara Mudrak, contributing writing for Farm and Dairy, who wrote the story.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so she reports that since 2000, confirmed black bear sightings were at 50 per year. But in 2022, bear sightings shot up to 150.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so a lot of these sightings are in counties that border the state of Pennsylvania, as a lot of black bears come from the neighboring state.
Okay, got it.
So Ashtabula County leads the state in black bear sightings with 280 between 1993 and 2022.
Oh, wow.
And this is followed by Trumbull, Geauga, Lake, and Mahoning counties.
Okay.
Yes, so black bear sightings usually spike in May, June, and July, and as well as November and October, hibernation months.
Yeah.
And this is also the same time when the bears are most likely to seek out food from these beehives.
Oh, okay.
But so in this story, she recommends to combat this, beekeepers should keep their hives at least 300 feet away from forested areas.
Okay.
And they should also surround the hives with electric fencing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, but this may not stop the black bear.
Oh,
it's
goodness.
very dedicated.
Wow, yeah, I guess.
Is likely to rip up the electric fencing despite the shocks
Wow.
and still get to the hives. So she says that additional measures might be needed to protect the beehives.
Okay.
So to find that out, you try to read the Farm and Dairy this week in the story.
All right. I go to great lengths to get a snack too, honestly.
Yeah,
so I get it.
yeah, valid.
And finally, Todd Clark, this week, he explored a topic of great note in Ohio's history that has even just more than a century later prepared us for really, serious weather events. He has a background as an educator and working with a local park district. He became deeply familiar with this watershed moment in Ohio's history, which is the Great Flood of 1913. It was a big deal. So it's Easter Sunday, March 23rd, 1913.
Wow.
The skies
Awful
open
timing.
up. I know. And then what we get is an absolute just drenching rain. So we're talking 12 inches of rain in as much as a
Wow.
couple of days. It was
That's
insane
crazy.
across the state. We've got Ohio and Erie Canal being basically obliterated by all this rain, and communities like Massillon just totally submerged underwater. Bridges vanished, waves cresting over these bridges. We got trains at a standstill. We've got the Main Street Lift Bridge in Massillon, which was the largest in Ohio at that time, and it was only just recently installed, days before this event. It was never used again after this. They quite literally couldn't operate it. The numbers are staggering. We got 450 fatalities in Ohio alone from the flood. 40,000 homes gone, destroyed. We've got damage estimated in the millions, and that's in $1913, not $2025. So crazy. The death toll across the nation from this storm rose up to 600. So crazy. It is still Ohio's worst natural disaster to date. Such a serious storm.
And that's over a century later.
Right.
Wow.
So bad. In response, Ohio and federal partners built dams, levees, flood banks, that kind of things, kickstarted an era of flood control in Ohio. So because this is Stormwater Awareness Month, let's remember not to mess with Mother Nature because she packs a punch.
Yeah. Quite a woman right there.
I
You
know.
don't want to mess with her.
No kidding.
Yeah. Well, that is our top stories for the week.
And to read the full stories, go to farmanddairy.com or find your local newsstand.
Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.
Bye.